Hello everybody, this is Vita and I'm back to read another story called David and the Giant by Fiona Witch-Smith. David was the youngest of 7 brothers and 2 sisters who lived with their mom and dad on a very busy farm near Bethlehem. David was in charge of looking after sheep, and although it was an important job, he had only been given it because his brothers had better things to do. David's brothers were all big and strong, and in their spare time they practiced fighting with swords, throwing their spears, and shooting their bows and arrows. David's brothers all wanted to fight in the army, so when a war broke out between the Israelites and the Philistines, they asked their father Jesse if they could join up. But Jesse didn't want to lose all his sons, so he decided that 3 should stay and 3 should go. Eliab, Abinadab, and Shammah, you 3 are the eldest. Go and join King Saul on the battlefield against the Philistines. Yay, said the 3 eldest brothers. Nay, said the 3 youngest. And poor David, who hadn't even been counted, said nothing. A few days later, David's mom and sisters, Zeruiah and Abigail, gave him a huge basket of food to take to his brothers on the battlefield. There were sausages and dried meat and loaves of bread and fruit and vegetables and all sorts of yummy cakes and sweets. David was very tempted to try some of it, but he knew if he did, his mom would make him wash the dishes for a month. So David climbed on a donkey and rode to where the Israelites were fighting the Philistines. But donkey was so slow. Hurry up, said David, or we'll miss the action. David was convinced that Israelites would beat the Philistines in no time. After all, they had God on their side. David knew God very well. He talked to him when he was sitting alone watching the sheep, singing them songs he had made up on the harp. David remembered the night God had filled him up with courage when he had been too scared to face the hairy beast. He knew that if Israel's army had only half of what God had given him, they would send the Philistines home crying to their mummies. But when David got to the battlefield, it was nothing like he imagined. On one side of the valley were the Philistines, laughing and joking and having a great time. On the other side were the Israelites, mopping and moaning and having a miserable time. Every so often a giant man would walk out of the Philistine camp and stand in front of the Israelites and laugh. His name was Goliath, and he was as tall as 6 fat sheep standing on top of one another. And when Goliath woke, the whole earth shook, and when Goliath spoke, the whole world covered its ears. Who will fight me? Boomed Goliath. Is your God not strong enough to help you? But not a single Israelite stood up and said, me. But this time David had found his brothers hiding behind a rock. Why won't anyone fight him? Asked David. How can you let him say such terrible things about our God? Have you seen how big he is? Asked Eliab. There is no one in the Israelite camp strong enough to fight him. Then I will fight him, said David. But his brothers just laughed. So David went to see King Saul, who was hiding in a tent. But you are just a boy, said the king. How will you fight this giant? God will give me strength, said David, and told the king about his battle with the hairy beast and that he tried to steal his father's sheep. So the king agreed and made David put on some very heavy armor. But the armor was too heavy, and poor David could hardly walk. "Thanks, but no thanks," said David. "I'll just go as I am." So David went to fight the giant in nothing but his everyday clothes. He didn't have a sword and he didn't have a shield, and the Philistines just laughed at him. But David had some weapons that they couldn't see: a catapult, a bag of stones, and a great big powerful god. "Come here and I will tear you apart, your arms and legs off," boomed Goliath. But David wasn't scared. He prayed a prayer, put a stone in his catapult, pulled it back, and hurled it between the giant's beady eyes. He wibbled, then he wobbled, then he fell to the ground with a bone-shattering crash. Goliath, the giant of the Philistines, was dead. The Israelites cheered and called David their hero, then picked up their swords and chased the rest of the Philistines away. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned as more stories are coming soon.